The main podcast is a free media source with a mission to provide better transparency in the market to connoisseurs, medical patients, recreational users, store owners, growers, extractors, and everyone in between. This is made possible through generous support from our sponsors who cover all corners of the great state of Maine. Special thank you goes out to Treeline Cannabis, Planet Tim, Watered Roots, Rugged Roots, The Heady Yeti, Tastefully Baked, Cure Cannabis, The Shack 420, Humble Family Farms, Cannamelts, Salty Cultivation, The North Fire, Highbrow, Team Green, Seaworks & Co., Fade Space, Zero Gravity Extracts, Wisely Cannabis, and Stoner & Co. For more information on how you can support those who support us, please visit our website, www.mainpodcast.com, and click our Sponsors tab.
Previous episodes about me and Carrie taking a little bit more serious approach to interviewing individuals, trying to hand select them or fit people on. And we just never really got a chance to kind of let us show as individuals. And we're not even sure really if people want to hear that, but it's something that we thought we'd venture into just to try to discuss more so of our personal thoughts, what we see going on. And we feel like we've been doing it enough now that we kind of have an ability to be able to talk about that stuff, where before everything was just so new and we were just getting really used to everything else that's going on, that it just didn't seem right at the time to really, for us to be giving opinions or trying to provide clarity to issues. Really at that point, we were just trying to interview people throughout Maine, and where there's a bunch left still to be interviewed, the pool of new interviewees is dwindling, and that's just the truth of it. And so when we came down to trying to create more content, it really came about that we should start providing clarity on issues and questions that we hear and see. And sometimes it's not going to be necessarily us providing the information. It's maybe us doing the research, but we're still going to try to use credible sources of people that are in the industry to help us explain some of these things that go on.
Yeah, certainly. We end up having conversations with a lot of different people who come on in, and some of the focus will be on them as individuals, their business, their practice, their history. And that's really good information. That's really relevant information, but it typically ends up being about who we're interviewing rather than kind of a broader scope. And we don't want to put people in a situation where they're saying things that they'll have to defend for one reason or another. So it kind of limits the amount of information we can share or can take. And it's not that people are going out there and saying, oh, this story and this story. It's not like that. We're just sort of not really able to. If I owned a cannabis business, how much would I share? Because it's like owning any kind of cannabis, and it's like owning any kind of business that's out there right now. You have to worry about how people are going to perceive it. We're into media. We came out and we wanted to tell stories, and we wanted to look at it historically, but I think we also always have felt like we wanted to be in the moment a little bit more and talk about things that are of the moment that are affecting us.
This is corporate America, and most of the time corporate America does not favor small businesses. So let's not think now all of a sudden the tables are going to turn and we're going to be great and well off.
Yeah, no, the whole business model in America is shifting away from continually, and this happens through decades at different periods of time too, where small business gets a squeeze and then it kind of makes a little bit of a comeback. It's right now it's getting a huge squeeze, and it feels like that global impact plays a bigger difference. That one of these times that squeeze just gets too big.
The cannabis industry, even if we win, we lose. Even if we win, we lose. There is not a situation.
You're talking about prolonging it, or is there a way of, how can it change?
Well, there's no fucking winning, is my point. There is no winning. If you look at how...
You have to play the game their way.
Yeah, if you look at... Well, we agreed to these rules.
Well, yeah.
That's what I'm saying is, even if we win, if we get everything we want, it's still not going to be what people think it's going to be. You're still going to have to set up your business in a different way for the most part. There's a lot of people, you talk to Jill Cohen, she'll even tell you, there's a lot of my people that came to me and like panic. I'm like, you've been set up like this, because these unfortunately were the rules. They just never had been really enforced. So I think playing as if now, like, oh, all of a sudden.
Yeah, it is all the rules that have always in the past been written in and never acted upon, but they continue to be in the new version and continue to be. And so, even though you never had to deal with it, you're like, this is going to bite us at some point. This is going to bite us because of the impact it could have, whether that's on, I brought it up the other night, on impacting out-of-state patients. And that kind of pressure could come from whatever state they're coming from too. You can't control that.
Well, the biggest pressure I think would come down at that point, because the only way you can restrict out-of-state patients is by telling them that their med cards aren't going to make, which I'm surprised they haven't do, because that would immediately move all the traffic that's coming up, and supporting a lot of these businesses. It's going to move it right to the rec market, because there's no fucking choice at that point. And so if the rec market's prices are matching the medical market, you're going to get stomped on, because as long as the quality matches.
Right. Yeah, that would change it.
But I want to go
too
back
much.
to
it wouldn't differentiate what they are at all.
Even if we win, we lose, and there's people that are giving false hope and are saying, well, these should have never happened and this should have never been in place. Buddy, it's been in place. It has been in place for a long time. And this is not me sympathizing with the people like Hannah King. She has no place on the board. I can't even believe she's still allowed to practice law with how morally culpable she is from her conflict of interest.
There's been no oversight.
I
mean,
cannot,
it gets raised.
We had a conversation with a couple of attorneys, and I can't believe this isn't an ethics violation, what she's doing. And it is. It's a blatant ethics violation as far as
When's
how
the last time on our state level we've had an ethics violation? Could you even recall that? I mean, it's gone by the wayside. There's no oversight whatsoever amongst legislators, senators, or House, or what's going on via appointments. And everything right now is happening at a distance where you don't have access to them. It's continually, and it's impacting us now. Now, on the cannabis stage, but more so business stage all over the place. I mean, I heard some horror stories about some guy this morning when I was at Starbucks. His business, his construction, just has this whole new line of regulations that have just come into to affect his. Lobstermen and seamen, fishermen, I'm sorry.
Yeah, don't do that again.
Yeah, right, seamen. They're going through a period of time right now where they want to put some green energy windmills out in the ocean. But if there happens to be some ecological impact because of these windmills, it's going to change fishing areas where we have a great industry going right now with Maine fish. What they're pulling off the coast, they would have to shut it down. We've been known for fishing, and how's that going to affect lobster?
No, I mean,
what the fuck?
It's definitely. I don't know anything about that, so I can't argue.
Well,
it.
I do. I heard.
Even so, I think.
But I'm just bringing it into a relative term. It's an attack all over it.
But to be fair, Kurt, that's not relative. It's not at all, because that was never a yes or no situation. We voted in certain laws. We want those laws imposed. I want a caregiver. I want a patient representative.
Right.
I don't want lobbyists on the board. That's something that I do believe. I do believe the Cannabis Coalition put a bill forward to make it that way. Lobbyists can't serve. 100% support and back that. I think lobbying is horrible for America. It's created the issues that we're in now. Definitely people need to fight for their best interest, but it supports people that can afford a lawyer to show up to the state house every day.
How do you though prevent the effects of what lobbyists are, which are basically people to line the pockets? I mean, if you're not going to line their pockets, they're always going to win that argument.
Well, I think you can only fight lobbying with lobbying, but I think at the same time, there's no reason a lobbyist should be on a committee for overseeing. I don't think they shouldn't be. Medical? A lobbyist shouldn't be on a committee where lobbyists are trying to sway the opinions of said committee.
Correct.
So then why are you on a committee?
That's a violation.
You should be a lobbyist then. Just be a lobbyist. You can't be a lobbyist and on the committee, because it's so crazy to me too. I do want to bring it back though. Wellness Connection donated $20,000 to Janet Mills. Janet Mills did appoint many of the seats that are on the Office of Marijuana Policy, including Eric Gunderson. Don't think this isn't political. I'm not saying left versus right, but I am saying there's something fucking weird going on there. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to think that all of a sudden, when Janet Mills was given $20K, she also comes out with this oversight committee for the same fucking group of people that just donated $20,000. I mean, what the hell, Yeah. So, and one of my biggest fighting tactics, I told this to Corey from Tastefully Baked. I said, this should be a political issue. I said, I'm surprised LePage is not getting on the forefront and saying, Janet Mills is trying to kill Maine medical marijuana. This needs to be brought into a spotlight. It's crazy to me how long this has been going on. It just got mentioned on the news. And that's at no fault by no one. It's not any of these organizations failing to do what they can do. It's just, this needs to get picked up.
Yeah.
People need to know, dude, your restaurant that hasn't been able to survive in that certain spot for years that's staying open now, it's not because of a fucking increase in the steel industry. It's because of an increase in money in your community from the marijuana market. The trimmers that are go ahead and working for cash. Yep. Do I think maybe they should be paying their taxes? That's neither here nor there, because I know many farms, many hairstylists, all that stuff that aren't reporting small claims. So but there's more money in the community from your trimmers.
Oh yeah.
There's more money in general entrepreneurs' pockets, which just trickles down all the time. I'm not talking about the big trickle down of giving away stimulus checks. I'm talking about
that
trickling
data
down
of the financial
in your
impact of what the medical market has produced in the time that it's been open should be looked at and shared before there are any decisions going forward, because of what you're speaking of right now. There are too many businesses too many communities that would just go like belly up, and perhaps that's what they want. Hey, you mentioned earlier, it's funny how this current issue, I don't think back when LePage was governor, it wasn't necessarily that he was willing to lend support, although it was at a time when cannabis was pretty new too. So maybe it was best just to be
support. I think he just wanted medical.
He didn't openly ever, from what we've heard. But we took his inaction as a positive to the allowance for the growth. We didn't hear a lot about how the state got involved in chopping it down at the knees, whether it was economically or anything. I think they just wanted to let it grow a little bit, or to a certain degree. But ultimately, I think it's always been about they wanted to let it grow for adult use. They never had an interest, even in the early going, for a medical program to succeed, even under the Republicans. I think it's advantageous for them right now, for Republican or conservative groupings, to support cannabis, because it's counter what's actually happening with more of the Democratic Party and Janet Mills, operations. There's no doubt that they were bought out. Would it have been different if it was, who was her opponent back? Do you remember when she ran?
Moody.
Was it?
Was it?
I can't even remember now.
I think it
it's
was.
Too bad I can't
for
recall,
Moody's Collision, the guy that owns that, Sean Moody.
Oh, okay. Really? He was primary against her, or was he within the party as a Democrat?
I don't know.
I don't know enough.
No, he was a Republican.
He was Republican?
Definitely, for sure.
Well, shit. Not in no disrespect to him, because I think he's been on the ticket for quite a while, but Janet Mills had a lot of pull from within the governmental structure already, where I think he's an outsider. He doesn't have as much of that inside world views of how to get things done in Augusta. Yeah. He's learning. I think he's learning. Mm-hmm. Sorry, didn't want to get caught up on that, but
you are a political guy.
Well, yeah, but you mentioned something. I just think that the Republicans are more or less playing as, hey, we're your allies, so they'll gain support.
But it's a perfect
because
time.
They weren't necessarily.
The Republicans
before.
are dying. If you think about it overall, not only in their age, because they're extremely old, and I talk about this from an objective standpoint. I am more of a conservative myself, although not alt-right like Kerry. No, but in all seriousness, it would be, if we're talking from like an honest point of view, there's not a lot of support for the Republican Party right now, especially in Maine, where we have southern Maine basically turning into northern Massachusetts. It would be, you want to grab,
creeping up.
You want to grab younger people. You want to grab your business owners that are on the fence, show them some support here, and go ahead and stand behind. A lot of these young guys, these young girls are in the cannabis industry. This is going to this could be such a good effect to see, wow, there's someone that came in and actually implied some common sense legislation and straightened out all this bullshit. Because it's not even feeling like Augusta anymore. It's feeling like Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
That's what it's feeling like.
They all want to be there.
Especially for someone that used to think Maine was so deep to its roots. I've never felt more so that
a detachment of
how
representation.
Is it this hard to get through to these people? That's what I keep asking myself. And to me, that's why it's like cumbersome and just like tiresome at this point to keep wanting to even fight for the cause. Cause it's like, damn, you could fight till you're fucking blue in the face. Mm-hmm. And these people just don't want to listen. So that's where I think if you want to amaze a bunch of people, if you are a Republican listening to this, if you're Paul LePage listening to this, get out there and say, screw you, Janet Mills. You are screwing the Maine cannabis industry.
Now would be a good time to rally support
is a vote
openly.
for Maine medical marijuana, for keeping Maine businesses open and truly helping our economy recover. Because if you ever want to build an economy, you're not going to do it without the current Maine medical marijuana program. What you're going to do is you're going to squash it if you do what you're doing.
The whole economy.
The whole fucking economy.
Yeah,
because the only way Maine has even a slim chance of rebounding after this COVID bullshit, in my opinion, is with the Maine medical marijuana market. Or at least giving these people a viable option to transition into recreational. That's it.
Yeah, a viable plan isn't necessarily bad. Again, I'll go back to this, and I shared it with a couple different people, but it's really difficult to define because it's almost like defining what the medical program is and what the adult use program is supposed to be. How are they supposed to be different? And I always go back to scope, or scale of your operation. But I still I don't know where that line is to draw on how large, how much square footage. Like you really should be. I think it really should be a plant count. Remain there. That's a good model. If you want to be a medical grower, stay on plant count and stay on like a certain size. I know it has its limitations, but I still think there's enough to live and to be able to share it as a medicine.
This is equally fueled by greed too. Don't get me wrong. The people that
we've been accustomed to how much money is involved with
the people
cannabis
that have been constantly roping in and doing the legal loophole to using loopholes to have different rooms under different family members. Yeah. You're not doing anything wrong. But don't think people aren't noticing and aren't like, I want to close this loophole. Because if you want to be this scale, you're not medical, you're recreational. I get the logic behind that. I don't support it, but I understand it, and it's a really good argument. It really is. So you can't have it both ways. I've been saying this for so long. The same people that are sending 15 packs out of state are the main ones bitching about fucking new regulations. It's like, well, if you don't want so many new regulations, then stop letting so much pot and great volume show up in fucking the New England seaboard. You know, it just shouldn't be happening. Everywhere from Atlanta, Georgia, up to New Haven, New Hampshire, or whatever. It's like, what is going on? It's just, you can't ask for both in this situation. I don't think you can. I'm not saying to stop your business model, but don't go out there dripping like a trap boy and then saying you're a business guy.
Shit, I don't know, because this is where I kind of differ a little bit on, I think, the truth of the matter is, why are they imposed? This is far out there a little bit, and so don't beat me up too bad, Evan.
I'm probably about to already know.
You are about to. But state borders. I mean, really, who decided that that's an infraction on? This has to be, if you look at it, then there is that violation. I understand that. But in essence, any producer, any area, the only way this is allowed to continue and gonna grow in any direction for longevity's sake outside of the next five years maybe, and that's max, and that's a lot fewer players, is that there is a lot being produced. We've talked about this, and there's an abundance now, and it's only going to get exponentially higher within I don't know where I could say 6 months, 9 months. I think we're going to see a full fucking rage of quantity, probably that soon. So, of course, there has to be more going out at this point. There have been a lot of missteps. You're right, they need to change as well. But how do you change that? I mean, you are dealing with a certain size. Now you're dealing with a business model that you need to move this much. I'm not making excuses for it.
Right, but I mean,
maybe being just a cannabis grower for a provider for a store has become so much where I'm not saying they're not making money. They're making money, but...
Right, but okay, so to use that argument, let's just project it as if there was nothing. There was no borders, nothing. So you colonizate the entire continental North America.
Fucking A right.
With as much cannabis as you want. And you're like, fuck it, we're going to sell it to the world. And you do to the world. And then you're like, well, who should tell us that we can just limit it to the world? Well, the living people on it. It's just the basic laws of supply and demand to me. I guess I get what you're right. But if you're talking about allowing interstate transport, you're also talking about now involving the federal government, which I think that's the last thing you want involved when it comes to regulation. Because if you think the fucking
Yeah.
lobbyists and the waters are muddy now.
No,
Going
sure.
up a notch is only going to make it worse.
No, I'm talking about this iceberg tipping over, and you have to look at things a new way, like understanding that these are rules, again, like a lot of societal norms have been put on. These are rules that have always been passed down, and yes, they're effective and they're worthwhile, but maybe there are ways of rethinking it. Maybe state groupings need to happen a little bit more for the protection of those states.
It's even, but it's
to allow it amongst them.
I'm saying because of the amount of cash that a new industry offers, you're constantly going to have people meeting that threshold. You could do all of the United States, and within 3 months, you're going to have a surplus of product. That's just how it's going to work. They're motivated by the money.
If you had a gun go off right now and said, it was a start for a race. And they said, cross country, okay, you can grow, like whatever state you're in now.
You are so fucked when Texas money gets involved. You are so screwed. It's already deep involved, but the oil companies, Texas, everything's bigger in Texas. Fly into there, you'll see their warehouses, okay? And it's like our biggest warehouses in Maine are their smallest in Texas. So if you think that's the last state you want involved in the cannabis industry, because you want to talk about dropping the price and getting product out there and probably moving it better than anyone else can, it's going to be the Texans. Now, Texas would also be the state to, like, if they all went legal, all 50 states still, like, write a law, like, so you can't do it. It'd be the death penalty. But all I'm saying is you don't want some of these big players involved. We've already seen what happened with California. California alone could probably supply enough for the entire United States. Oregon and California, the whole western continental part of the United States could probably support all of the United States with cannabis. All of it. And more than we ever needed. And they'll still ship 1 million pounds of hemp to frickin' Jerusalem every month.
So how does the business model for a small craft state protect itself?
You said it. You stay small in craft.
Yeah.
You're not small in craft. You're not a craft grower.
You're nothing at that point.
When you're operating hundreds of lights or even 50 plus lights.
Well, I shouldn't say you're not nothing. You've chased this model that's attractive to you, and you want to play at bigger numbers. Everything is just exponentially bigger. That's why you get bigger. But the craft end, you're right, cannot be played at a certain significant size difference. Correct?
No, I think honestly too, if you are growing at a crazy rate right now, to me, it seems like the only reason you're doing it is to sell. Like the crazy, because
So what's a good rubric to consider craft?
I don't know what a good rubric to consider craft is, but I know for a fact that if you're expanding at a crazy rate and you're not completely vertically integrated, and even some of the vertically integrated places don't and will never have enough demand to move the product that they're growing, the best option is to start looking for a buyer.
Yeah.
I would think is to solidify everything that you got going on and then try to find someone to buy it as one. Try to find another, a rich guy from Texas to buy it that doesn't really know what they're doing. And that's the whole idea. You offer them everything in one and sell it for a little bit more than you put into it, but you have money down. So you're going to be making a shit ton off it. And then go to something else. Cryptocurrency seems to be booming, and that's from me. So I'm not into it, but that seems to be
pretty big ever since we had what was it, Brent from Maine Real Estate?
Brent, yep.
Brent. Remember we were talking about that. We never did get to publish that episode. We lost the timing on it in the sense where it was relevant had we pumped it out that week. So we'd like to also probably do more of that in the future too, right? Like quick, like fast throw togethers. But yeah, no, the crypto is huge, dude, and so is the real estate market. No, yeah. I mean, I know personally as well.
No, yeah, real estate market's crazy. Well, you were saying you were expecting X on your house, and you got like 10X more than you were expecting, or something crazy.
Yeah, well, not a 10. Don't throw a 10 on birthday. But yeah,
well, it was.
But there's no real plan B outside of I know the state and I know where I can go and live. Like maybe find something cheap and find something that works for what I wanna, where I wanna live for it. But for now, I've always been like a jumper. I always do. I've been at this house for 8 years, somewhere around there. It's been awesome. Enjoyed it. But I'm looking for something different now. It feels like a transition period, and it's not necessarily an upgrade. It's just sort of, hey, dude, when something can sell for that much money, why not?
Quick highlight too, over the past couple days, we had a couple events. The Women's Cannabis Connection. Big round of applause to them.
Oh, yeah, great turnout.
Can you find the applause button on that fucker?
Let's try it.
No, not that one. Shut that off.
What's up, boys?
No,
what's
not
up,
that one.
What's up, What's up, boys? What's up, boys?
Yeah,
I can't shut that one off.
Oh, shit.
There we go. Fourth one.
The Women's Cannabis Connection absolutely nailed it. I mean, filled the house, packed it. It was awesome.
Yeah, that was. I had a ball that afternoon. I hung out a lot. It was
Well, it was
great
Carrie
to have
and
met.
47 women. So, yes, Carrie had a great time. I couldn't fucking get him out of the room for 2 seconds to lower the volume or something.
But I like what they're doing as a collective. I think, in my eyes, just to speak on that, and I mentioned this a couple times to a few of them when I said, hey, look, I'm really proud of you. This is great. Because what the group of you did is you brought together 50-ish people for a gathering, for a fundraiser. They raised a lot of money that day too. It was, I'm not privy to it, none of my business, but can tell that they were very, very pleased with, just how much there was giving back from that group. Great strides. And so from that 50 that came, give or take, that number increases next time. It continues to increase because good vibe, good energy, and I think they're going to get a lot done.
Yeah,
whatever they choose to.
I think that women are definitely underrepresented in this community, especially as business owners, operators, and a lot of time they're oversexualized, and that's just a point of it. And I think Maine has done a really good job of not becoming California,
Yeah, right. The glitz and the glam of the showcase girls that would come.
Well, it's just like, don't get me wrong. I think everyone likes looking at someone for their physique one time or another.
Their attractiveness, sure,
male or woman, and vice versa to how they view that. But just the over the topness that California brought to it, it was like, is this the cannabis industry or is this some type of soft porn industry at the same time? I think a lot of people looked at it like that too. And I, as of right now, like, props to Maine. Maine is, I think,
I never thought of it that way, but you're right. It doesn't feel sexualized at all. And had the scene started, say, like a mass, then maybe it would have already. And yet that its origins come from Maine. We've got this nice, we got strong women.
Yeah.
We've got some really great representation.
No, I feel like the representation is definitely, like, it represents Maine perfectly for what Maine is, So that's good. Props to them. Great event. Energy was great. The next couple days after, we had the 420 event with Tastefully Baked. That was yesterday, actually.
Yep.
That went great. Good showing for that too. I mean, obviously, shout out to Corey and Janelle. They did a great job putting together a gift
Love
basket.
working with them together on that. Always enjoyable. Really good time to talk. The food from Noble Barbecue was phenomenal.
The bonbons were out of this world.
Yeah.
Absolutely out of this world.
And the magician, well, he rocked it.
The magician, Phil Smith. I still don't believe that's his fucking name. Not a damn, no way. Zero chance. Phil Smith, Will Smith. Come on. Like, that's bullshit. But, Phil did a good job. Shout out to Phil. I wouldn't hire him.
He was 6 for 7.
He was, yes. There was one joke that made me want to rip some shatter from 2010, and that's saying something, okay? Holy shit.
You haven't wanted to go back to shatter in a long time. When's the last time you had shatter?
When I smoked, probably, believe it or not, I think it was like Rugged Roots Pink Clementine or something like that.
Oh, back in the day over there.
Yeah, it was like the first time I saw Clear Shadow, so I was like, let's fucking run it. No hate to Ryan.
It did have good flavor, didn't it?
Yeah. No hate to Ryan. Still kind of tastes like plastic, but I've come to realize that every single shatter kind of tastes like plastic after you smoke a lot of hash.
Oh, really?
Weird
That's
flex,
what
no big
happens,
deal.
huh? Yeah,
I don't know.
you.
I don't even smoke that much though. Like you,
But you smoked some BHO recently that you said was pretty phenomenal.
Did I?
I thought you said that a little while back.
No, well, everyone's raving about the rotten snakes that's processed by Oasis Refinery. All I'm saying, Oasis does slay BHO extractions. Who else does too? Corey from Tastefully Baked. He gave me a bunch of oh God, what was it? Gorilla something? Maybe it was a Gorilla Mac. I'm not even sure. But that was really good too. I just think that it comes down to people that know what they're doing a little bit more,
There's still a technique to it. You don't get to try very much green trap, or do you?
I don't smoke that much.
I'm sorry, green trap.
I really don't smoke that much anymore. It's just, I don't know. I I don't smoke as many dabs as I used to.
Right. For me, as flower goes, I had some Don Mega from Northfire for the first time, and I shout out to him. That was really, really. I love the flavor I got off that, and the high that I felt was a little bit more like an undercurrent of not psychedelics, but there's this wandering mind that you were able to kind of choose a couple little new images. Even with your eyes open, you're kind of seeing things a little bit different. So for me, that was a great experience. Love that.
Right.
And I had done the Cannabis episode as well, and I got some Oreos.
Cannabis. It's Cannabis. I just like saying Cannabis. I don't know why.
They're in Farmington area, and they're moving down to Portland next year on the adult use markets.
Oh, wow.
So
good for them.
Yeah. Yeah. But
I've been talking a little bit more about psychedelics, though, and how I truly think that microdosing is going to become microdosing with like psilocybin will become the next big thing.
I've been finding our recent podcast episodes have been including this talk about psychedelics a little bit more. It is generally very interesting.
Well, and I think psychedelics get a very
on a microdose level
bad name because of the terminology. Psychedelics, like it's just like it's fucking weird. Like you think about it, you think of like some hippie dude tripping out, and I have found more and more like your jockish type of athletes, your people you never would expect are going to be taking some of this stuff, are doing it because they do see some medicinal benefit. I truly don't think we're behind that far from Denver and stuff. Where you're going to see something like Portland or Auburn or something become a little bit more progressive in the sense and legalize or decriminalize the use of mushrooms.
Having that in like a truffle form where it's actually like, damn, or having it into like some edibles. Or
no, yeah.
Like
well, I've seen that too a lot.
Great.
A lot of places in
also,
California.
Also, honey, my brother was making it with a hot tea for a little while.
Oh, yeah?
But that's of the moment, so that's more of a recipe. Mm-hmm. But the impact or the effects of it are, amplified a little bit more, so you don't want to do as much. And it hits you a lot quicker too. Yeah. So there's so many different ways of ingesting, but yeah, a little guidance. Well, actually, not a little guidance. A lot of guidance for people who are ever gonna first time it.
Well, I think too the thing that and I'm not really well versed in this. But
I think we could probably get some people together to talk about that. Bring more of an awareness, things they've recognized, things. Well,
there's
they know.
different strains.
Not doctors, unless we can get some.
People are going ahead and there's different strains that produce different feelings and stuff like that. Kind of just like cannabis. I do think it would need to be regulated a lot more than cannabis. It only makes sense, in my opinion, that it would be. Just because it's like cannabis, you do too much, like whatever, you're too high. But you do too much shrooms.
So the regulations on edibles are going to be out of this world, is what you're telling me.
I don't know. I think it would just be the overall regulation on how strict, like from day one, I would assume testing is going to be necessary for potency.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It's just that's much more.
They might force it to a capsule form too.
Which
more so.
Yeah.
Because of regulation. Mm. You take it out of, not only that, edible too. I think they'd probably do both.
Yeah.
But as far as getting it in raw form, I don't know if they'd allow that.
I don't know.
I don't know. I would hope they would, because there is some beautiful looking mushrooms. How often have you seen like mushrooms like dried up different forms?
Not really a whole lot. I've seen in pictures and stuff like that just from doing some research.
Most of them that I think I saw, the origins come from cow pastures.
Yeah,
that's the best place for them to grow because of the manure. A friend of mine was telling me that he went down there and he spent an afternoon, and there was a lot of wet shit out there too. Let's just say that. Maybe this is a good point where we call it a wrap.
Yeah. So thank you so much. We're going to be dropping weekly episodes with just me and Carrie, kind of just talking about some of the things that are going on in the industry, some of the thoughts that come into our head. If you have any ideas, things that you'd like brought up, discussed, questions, concerns, go ahead and shoot us a DM on the main podcast's IG at MAINEPOTCAST, or shoot us an email too. You can find all of our information right in the link in our bio. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.